Let's take a look at one of these derivative table problems. And for these kind of problems, we'll be given a derivative expression, and we'll be told to kind of find the derivative of certain values here. So for this very first one, I need to find h prime of 1, and I need to use the table in order to figure out what that value is. So my function here is h of x equals to f of x times g of x. And we can definitely see that this is a product of two functions. So let's go ahead and find the first derivative, h prime of x. So h prime of x equals to, using the product rule, the derivative of f of x is f prime of x. And then we times that by g of x plus f of x. And then we times by g prime of x. All right, and now we find h prime of 1. So basically I'll write this as h prime of 1. And basically what that means is that anytime you see an x value, we change all those x values with the 1. So this will be f prime of 1. And then I have g of 1. And then plus f of 1. And then we times that by g prime of 1. All right, and then we go to the table now to find the values for these expressions here. So let's look at f prime of 1. Where is f prime of 1 on the table here? Well, here's f prime and there's 1. So f prime of 1 is going to have a value of 4. So this will be 4 times, and then what's g of 1? Well, g is right there. There's the 1, so g of 1 will be negative 1. So 4 times negative 1, and then plus, now what's f of 1? F of 1, if I follow f, and when x is 1, f of 1 has a value of 2. And then if I just kind of clean this off here, the last one is what's g prime of 1? Well, here's g prime, there's 1, so that value is going to be negative 3. Okay, and then we just kind of evaluate this now. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, and 2 times negative 3 is going to be negative 6, and my final answer here is going to be negative 10. So h prime of 1 would equal to negative 10. All right, so that's how these table questions work. We just take the derivative of the expression, and then we just plug in the values here. So in this question here, I have another product rule, and eventually I need to find f prime of 1. So let's go ahead and find the derivative of f of x. So this will be f prime of x equals to, now the derivative of x cubed is going to be 3x squared times f of x plus the first term, which is x cubed, and then I multiply by the derivative of f of x, which is f prime of x. So there's a product rule right there. And then we need to evaluate f prime of 1, right? So f prime of 1. So anytime we see an x value, all these x values here, all those x values just change to a 1. So for the very first one, if I plug in a 1, 1 squared is 1. So now I just have a single 3. And then I have an f of 1 plus, and then over here, I mean, we're just evaluating 1 cubed. 1 cubed is just 1, so 1 times f prime of 1. Okay, now let's go to the table here and let's see if we can figure this out. I'll put the 3 over here. Now, what is f of 1? Well, here's f, and there's 1, so f of 1 is 2. So 3 times 2 plus, and now I have f prime of 1, which is going to be 4. So 1 times 4. Okay, and now we have a final answer of 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 4, and my final answer there is going to be 10. All right, so these questions aren't too bad. You just have to be pretty good with the product rule here. So I have another product over here, 4x squared times g of x, and I need to find p prime of 1. So let's go ahead and find the derivative of p of x. So the derivative of p of x is the derivative of 4x squared. So that's going to be bracket 8x times g of x plus the first part, which is 4x squared. And then we multiply by the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x. All right, so there's our derivative expression. And now we need to find p prime of 1. All right, and that's going to equal to, well, all these x's change to a 1 now. So 8 times 1 is going to be just 8 times, now we have g of 1, and then I have a plus here, and there's a 1 there and a squared there, and then times g prime of 1. And maybe one thing that we can do right now is this part right here, 4 times 1 squared, that's simply going to be 4. So if I just erase that, I can just put a 4 right there, and then that should take care of that. Okay, let's go ahead and just continue here. This will be 8 times. Now, what is g of 1 on the table, right? So here's g, here's 1. G of 1 will be negative 1. So g of 1 is negative 1 plus, and then we have a 4 now. And then what is g prime of 1? Well, here's g prime, there's the 1, so g prime of 1 is going to be negative 3. Okay, so if we keep on going here, I guess we have negative 8 here, and then minus 12, and this will be negative 20. Okay, let's keep on going here. Question number 4. All right, let's move on to question number 4 now. And for question number 4, I noticed that there's a constant right here at 3, but we're still multiplying f of x times g of x, and I need to find f prime of 4 this time. So let's go ahead and find the derivative now. So I have h prime of x. Now, when you have a constant, I recommend that you leave the constant on the outside like that, and then let's just put a square bracket around that, and then let's go ahead and take the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of f of x is f prime of x times by g of x plus the first term, which is f of x, and then we multiply by the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x, and then I just close the bracket off. Okay, and then on the next step here, we are now evaluating h prime of 4. Okay, so what that means is all these x's will now change to a 4, right? So there's a 3 on the outside, and I'll put a square bracket around that. So let's see if I can just do this in one color here. So this will be f prime of 4 times g of 4 plus f of 4 times g prime of 4. Okay. And then once we've done that, then we can go to the table now and figure out what these values are. So what's f prime of 4? Well, here's f prime, there's 4, now the value is negative 2. All right, so a 3, open bracket, f prime of 4 is going to be negative 2, so let's put a bracket negative 2. And then what is g of 4? Well, here's g, there's 4, g of 4 is going to be 1, so I can times that by a 1, plus, and then what is f of 4? Well, here's f, there's 4, and f of 4 is 1, so let's multiply that by a 1. And then let me just kind of clear this off. And what's g prime of 4? Well, here's g prime, there's the 4, so g prime of 4 has got to be 2. So times by 2, and then I can close the bracket off there. Okay, so I got the 3 on the outside, and what's on the inside here? Well, I have negative 2 plus 2, and if I close that bracket off, inside the brackets I have a 0 there, right? So 0 times 3 will be 0. Okay, let's keep on moving along here. The functions are getting a little bit more complicated now. I got 2 root x times g of x. So I got constant again, and there's g of x there. So before I actually start taking the derivative, we might want to rewrite this as 2 times x to the power 1/2, and then we can times that by g of x. All right, that might make the derivative a little bit easier there. Okay, let's see if we can take the derivative now. G prime of x. Okay, so using the power rule here, let's take the derivative of this term right here. So if I take that 1/2, okay, let me just kind of write this over here. I have 2 times x to the power 1/2. If I soccer kick the 1/2 in front, I get a 1x, and then I minus a 2 over 2, which gives me negative 1/2. Okay, so and if I convert that into a simplified radical, that'll be 1 over root x. Okay, so this derivative will be 1 over root x, and then multiply that by g of x, plus, and then the first term is really just 2 times the square root of x, and then I multiply that by g prime of x. All right, so there's the derivative for our, there's the product rule being applied there, and now we need to find the derivative now, the derivative value, so g prime of 4, right, so g prime of 4. So what that really means is all these x values are going to be replaced with the 4, right? So let's just see if we can do that right now in one color. So this will be 1 over the square root of 4 times g of 4 plus 2 times root 4 times g prime of 4. Okay, and then this part right here, 1 over root 4, that's going to be 1/2. So let me just erase that and just replace that with 1/2. And then this part right here is root 4 is going to be 2. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4. So I can erase this and just write a 4 times g prime of 4. And then I can go to the table now, right? So let me kind of zoom in here. And let's see if I can find the values here. So let's see if we can just finish this off. This is going to be 1/2. And what is g of 4? G of 4 is right here. So g of 4 will be 1. So 1/2 times the 1 plus 4 times and g prime of 4. So g prime of 4 is here, here, and there. So g prime of 4 is going to be 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this together here. So this will be 1/2 plus 8. And 1/2 plus 8 is going to be 8.5. And 8.5 is really just half of 17, right? So I think 8.5 is totally fine for full marks, but you can also write 17 over 2 if you like. Okay, let's move on to another table problem here. So let's kind of blow this up here. So this one's a bit complicated here because I have x squared on the outside and on the inside, or I'm multiplying by this. So let's see if we can apply the product rule to this. So v prime of x. Okay, so the derivative of x squared is going to be 2x, so 2x. And then I multiply this by the whole function there, which is 2 times f of x in brackets minus 3 times g of x. And I close that bracket off. And then the product rule states I need to add. And then I'm going to add the first term, which is just x squared. And then I need to take the derivative of this expression right here. Now let's put square brackets around that. And this one's not too bad because it's really just 2 times f prime of x minus 3 times g prime of x. Right, so make sure you're pretty good in terms of taking care of derivatives when you have constants, right? You can leave the constants in front and just take the derivatives of the functions. Okay, so now our next step is I need to find v prime at 1, right? So v of 1, right? So what does that mean? It means anytime you see an x, all these x's get replaced with 1. Okay, so let's see if we can do that in one color here. So 2 times 1 is going to be 2, open bracket, 2 times f of 1 minus 3 times g of 1 plus, well, this right here is just 1 squared, so I don't need to do anything there. And then times 2 times f prime of 1 minus 3 times g prime of 1. Okay, so we've definitely plugged in all our 1's now. And let's see if we can use the table now to figure this out. So what's f of 1? So here's f, there's 1. F of 1 is going to be 2, so 2 times 2 minus 3 times, and what's g of 1? Well, here's the g, there's the 1, so g of 1 is going to be negative 1. And then I close that bracket off. Okay. And then there's a plus sign. 2 times, and now I have f prime of 1. So here's the prime, f prime. Here's the 1. F prime of 1 is going to be 4. So 2 times 4 minus 3 times. And what is g prime of 1? Well, here's g prime. And g prime of 1 is going to be negative 3, right? So 3 times negative 3. And then I can close the bracket off like that. Okay, so we have a little bit of work to do here. So 2 bracket, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 3. Plus 2 times 4 is 8, plus 9. Now this is 2 times 4 plus 3 is going to be 7. And then 8 plus 9 is going to be 17, I believe. So this is going to be 14 plus 17, and that equals to 31 as a final answer there. So quite a bit of work to do for question number 6, but that's definitely a very good question to demonstrate a very good understanding of these table derivative questions. Okay, finally, the last question is one of these classic tangent line questions. So what I'll do over here is maybe I'll just write the tangent line over here. All right, so we know the x value is 4. Okay, so maybe I can erase that and just put a 4 there. And then maybe we should go after the y1 next. So let's go ahead and find y1. So I know I have y equals to 2 times x times f of x. And these x's are going to be replaced with the 4, right? So that'll be 2 times 4 times f of 4. Okay, so 2 times 4 is going to be 8. And ask yourself, what is f of 4 from the table? Well, here's f and here's 4. F of 4 is 1, right? So 8 times 1 is going to be 8. So what that means is that your y1 value is going to be 8. Perfect. All right, so we're done with that part. And now we need to find, the purpose of calculus is to always find these derivative values, which is represented by the letter m on the tangent line there. So we have, let's see if I can highlight this 2x and this f of x. Our goal now is we want to find the derivative of y, so y prime equals 2. Now the derivative of 2x is simply going to be 2 times f of x plus 2x times f prime of x. Okay, and then we need to find the derivative value at x equals to 4. So what I like to do is I like to write this as f prime of 4 now. And basically that means the same thing where all these x's now get replaced with 4. So maybe we can do that with just a red color here. So 2 times f of 4 plus 2 times 4 times f prime of 4. Okay, and let's go ahead and finish this off now. So I have a 2 there, and let me just erase these colors here. So using a green marker now, what's f of 4? Well, here's f and here's 4. F of 4 is just 1. So 2 times 1 plus 2 times 4 is going to be 8. So we'll have an 8 there. And then what's f prime of 4 here? F prime of 4, so f prime of 4 is going to be negative 2, I believe. So times negative 2. So this will be 2 minus 16, and that will give you a derivative value of negative 14. Perfect. Okay, so if I go back to my tangent line, I'll put this in green here. The final answer should be y minus 8 equals to negative 14 bracket x minus 4. So that right there is your final answer, because all we're doing now is we're plugging in the derivative value of negative 14 for m. Okay, so that concludes this homework video guide on the product rule.